By 9 that night, Liana finally stopped checking her phone. The boxes were stacked like small cities around her new living room. Towers of cardboard labeled in her neat handwriting kitchen. Books, office, closet. The giant floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the quiet cul-de-sac, the kind of peaceful neighborhood she used to drive through as a teenager and think one day. Today was that day. And no one she had loved longest had bothered to say a word. She set the phone face down on the coffee table, then flipped it over again, just in case the screen might magically light up. It stayed dark. No missed calls, no new messages, no family group chat exploding with pictures of her new place, teasing, pride, anything. Just silence. Liana exhaled through her nose, slow and controlled, the way her therapist had taught her. She wasn't going to cry about this. She had promised herself that in the car on the way over, her sedan packed with the last of her things and a plant seat belted into the passenger seat like a nervous friend. You wanted proof, she thought, staring at the black screen. Here it is. She had texted everyone that morning. A small, simple message in the family chat. Asterisk keys in hand. Moving into the new place today. Will send pictures once I'm done. Love you all. Asterisk her older brother, Matteo, had read it within minutes. So had their younger sister, Nora. The grey read receipts sat there like little verdicts. No reply. Even her mother, who always complained about her arthritic thumbs whenever anyone asked why she still hadn't learned to text properly, had seen it. She knew because she'd called the house line the night before to remind her mother again. We'll see, her mother had said, voice distracted, television noise blaring in the background. You know your uncle is visiting on Sunday. Maybe we'll stop by one day. Don't go buying fancy things. Remember where you came from, Liana. Remember where you came from. As if she could forget. As if any of them would let her. She pushed herself off the couch and crossed to the wall-mounted security hub near the hallway. The system installer had walked her through it only that afternoon. Touchscreen, multiple camera angles, remote access from her phone. For a woman who had grown up in an apartment so old, the intercom crackled like a dying radio. It still felt surreal. On the screen, 4 tiny windows showed the house in ghostly, blue-toned night vision. The front gate, the driveway, the side yard, the back patio. No movement. No car pulling up with her father as old jokes and her mother as complaints about the drive. No siblings tumbling out pretending they weren't impressed while secretly taking pictures. Of course, she murmured. There would be 100 excuses later if she asked. We got busy. You know how it is. You didn't need anyone. Why are you making it about you? It's just a move. Her chest tightened, a familiar ache sitting right behind her sternum. The ache had lived there for years, fed by every "can you help us this month?" And you know you're the successful one, right? And we're family, you don't say no. The difference now was simple. She finally believed what the ache had been trying to tell her. They didn't see her. Not really. Only what she could do. She walked back to the coffee table, picked up her phone one more time, then opened the banking app instead of her messages. The numbers glowed calmly back at her savings, investments, the separate account she'd opened months ago that no one knew about. That account was how she had bought this house. Her parents still thought she was renting. In their heads, she was forever one bad month away from needing them. Even as she paid their overdue utilities behind the scenes and quietly transferred money when the fridge, mysteriously, broke again. She scrolled through recent transfers, eyes tracing each line item like she was reading a story written in digits instead of words. 500 for Matteo's car trouble, 750 for Nora's emergency dental work that somehow turned into a last-minute trip, 3 months of mortgage assistance. Just until things stabilize, baby. Liana's jaw flexed. They hadn't asked how her move was going, but she knew exactly when the next bill was due in her parents' mailbox. She closed the app and set the phone down for real this time. The silence of the house wrapped around her. Not hostile, just honest. It was the first space she'd ever had that didn't carry anyone else's expectations in its walls. She walked slowly through the unpacked rooms, bare feet on smooth hardwood. Her office, with its wide desk and overlooking window, waited like a promise. The bedroom, still half full of boxes, held a bed that wasn't a hand-me-down. In the kitchen, she opened a cabinet and smiled at the neat row of plates she'd saved up for, each one an expensive little rebellion. Her mother had complained when Liana showed her a picture in the catalogue. "Why would you waste that kind of money on dishes?" she demanded. "Just take ours. We have plenty. Plenty of chipped plates that had seen 30 years of arguments." Liana closed the cabinet gently. She had been invisible for so long that it felt strange to stand in a space made entirely from her choices. But strange was not the same as wrong. She leaned against the cool quartz countertop, crossed her arms, and let herself feel it. The sting, the disappointment, the petty hurt of watching a family group chat light up over a cousin's new haircut, while her own life change went unnoticed. "You asked for this," she reminded herself. "You wanted distance." Distance wasn't the same as abandonment, though. Yet here she was, alone in a house she had bought with money her family pretended not to see on a day no one had bothered to honor except the real estate agent and a delivery guy who joked kindly about her tower of boxes. Her throat burned. She blinked hard and reached for one of the mugs she hadn't packed yet, the ceramic warmed by the memory of endless nights of late freelance work. She made tea, hands moving on autopilot, and carried the steaming mug back to the living room. On the coffee table, her notebook lay open where she'd left it. The front pages were filled with neat lists. Closing costs, move-in tasks, the names of contractors. Deeper in, the lists change. Asterisk, what I've paid for in the last 5 years. Asterisk, asterisk, what they've said in return. Asterisk, asterisk, what I want my life to look like at 40. Asterisk. She sank onto the couch, tucked her feet under her, and flipped to the latest page. Tonight's heading, written an hour before the movers left, stared back at her in bold ink. Asterisk proof, I am not crazy. Asterisk underneath, she'd already started a tally. 1. No call from Mom after text about keys. 2. No call from Dad. 3. Nora saw message. Stayed silent. 4. Mateo saw message, stayed silent. 5. Group chat talking about football instead. She added a 6th line. 6. It's been 9 hours. Still nothing. Liana set the pen down and let her hand rest on the page. If anyone else had brought her a list like this, she would have believed them. She would have said, "You're not imagining it. They're using you." Funny how much harder it was to extend that same clarity to herself. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow I have a special story for you. Days became weeks. The house slowly transformed from a maze of boxes into a home. The office took shape first, of course it did. Liana was nothing if not reliable when it came to work. Her main job as a senior UX designer at a software company stayed remote, the salary steady. On top of that, her little side freelancing had grown into something much bigger. She'd built a quiet network of clients over the years: startups, small businesses, people who didn't have the budget for a full agency, but were willing to pay well for someone who listened. They paid on time. They thanked her. They referred friends. Her family had no idea that those invoices had slowly stacked up into the down payment, and then some for the house. You're lucky. Her mother always said when Liana tried to mention the late nights, the double shifts, the courses she'd taken on her own dime. Back in my day, no one paid that much to sit behind a computer. Luck. Sure. In her office, Liana adjusted a framed print on the wall until it hung straight. It was a simple line drawing, a woman holding a small lantern in a dark forest. Asterisk. Find your own way asterisk. The caption beneath it read. On her desk, her phone buzzed. For one irrational, hopeful second, her heart jumped. Maybe it was a notification from the security app. She exhaled a laugh at herself and opened it anyway. A delivery truck was backing out of her driveway, the camera at the front gate catching the taillights as they disappeared. She watched the little live feed for a moment, then flipped over to her messages. The family chat was exactly as she'd left it: memes, sports arguments, an argument between Nora and their cousin about whose toddler was cuter. Liana's move, her new address, the photo she'd finally posted of her standing in front of the house 2 weeks ago, one hand lifted, sheepishly in a half-wave sat higher up in the scroll. Only one comment beneath it. From her father. Asterisk nice. Don't forget, your mother's birthday is next month. She wants to do something big this year. No, congratulations. No, we're proud of you. Just a reminder of someone else's needs. She closed the chat. The therapist had named it for her in their last session. Liana, you've been the family shock absorber, she'd said gently. You take hit after hit so everyone else can keep moving. But shock absorbers wear out. It's not ungrateful or selfish to step back when you're being damaged. Liana had nodded, the words both comforting and terrifying. Step back. What did that actually look like? She was still figuring it out. She started with small things. When Nora texted asking if Liana could spot her $500, just until payday, Liana replied with something new. I can't do that this month. I'm working on my own financial stability. Have you looked into talking with a financial counselor at your bank? The typing bubbles had appeared, disappeared, then finally delivered a single-phrase answer. Wow. Okay, followed by a silence that had nothing to do with poor cell reception. Her mother's call came later that night, voice already sharp. I heard you refused your sister, she said, without preamble. She's your blood, Liana. What are we teaching the younger ones if we don't help family? Liana had held the phone a little farther from her ear, stared out at the dark line of trees beyond her backyard fence, and said calmly, I've helped. A lot. I'm not saying no forever. I'm saying I can't keep being the only solution. Her mother scoffed. Oh, so now you think you're better than us because you bought a house? The accusation landed like a familiar blow. Liana's free hand curled into a fist at her side, nails digging into her palm just hard enough to anchor her. I don't think I'm better than anyone, she said. I think I'm tired. Well, her mother snapped, we'll remember this next time you need something. Liana almost laughed. When she needed something. As if that had ever been allowed. She ended the call knowing exactly what would happen in the group chat. Screenshots. Twisted summaries. Her name dragged through the mud in the language of disappointment. This time, she didn't go read it. Instead, she opened her notes app and added new entries under her running list. 7. Said no to lending Nora $500. Mom called to shame me. 8. Response. We'll remember this when you need something. The receipts weren't just numbers anymore. They were patterns. She printed some of them out one Saturday, the hum of the printer weirdly soothing, and slipped the pages into a slim black binder. On the spine, she labeled it in small gold letters. What really happened? It felt ridiculous, dramatic, almost childish. It also felt necessary. She'd spent years gaslighting herself, smoothing over every slight with excuses. Asterisk, they're just stressed. Asterisk, asterisk, they don't mean it. Asterisk, asterisk, family talks like that sometimes. Asterisk now. Whenever doubt crept in, whenever a memory tried to rewrite itself as not that bad, she could open the binder and see it in black and white. What they said. What she did. Who kept showing up. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow I have a special story for you. The night everything shifted, a storm was rolling in. Liana only noticed because of the way the wind pressed against the windows, a low, constant pressure that made the glass hum. She sat at her desk in leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, hair piled into a messy knot, eyes glued to a prototype on her screen. Her laptop chimed with an incoming video call. She glanced at the name asterisk Evelyn, founder, Loom Labs asterisk, and clicked accept. Hey, Evelyn beamed, her face lighting up the screen. Sorry to bother you at night. Do you have a minute? The board loved your last round, by the way. Adrenaline nudged aside the heaviness in Liana's chest. No bother at all, she said. What's up? Evelyn's expression turned almost giddy. I just got off a call with our investors, she said. We're moving forward with the full app redesign. We want you leading it. Not as a freelancer. Liana blinked. Not as... We want to bring you on as a partner, Evelyn said, grinning. Equity, title, the whole thing. I know you're already employed, so we can be flexible with how we structure it. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't want you full-time eventually. You're the reason half of our beta users stuck around. For a moment, Liana couldn't speak. Partner, equity, those words felt like they belonged to other people's stories. She thought of her family's language around her career asterisk sitting at a computer asterisk. Asterisk lucky asterisk. Asterisk probably overpaid for clicking things asterisk. She thought of the binder lying closed on the lower shelf beside her desk. Wow, she managed. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it, Evelyn laughed. I'm sending over the term sheet tonight. No pressure. But I wanted you to hear it from me first. After they hung up, Liana sat very still. The wind outside picked up, rattling a tree branch against the side of the house. A partner. She let the word settle in the room with her, filling the empty spaces. Her phone buzzed on the desk. For the first time in a long time, she didn't dread the notification. Her stomach dropped when she saw the source. It wasn't a text. It was the security app. Asterisk motion detected front gate. Asterisk. Her pulse kicked up. She tapped the notification, and the live feed expanded to fill her screen. The camera at the front gate cut through the darkness with infrared clarity. 3 figures stood huddled at the intercom. Even in the harsh, monochrome light, Liana knew them instantly. Her mother's distinctive coat, cinched too tight at the waist. Her father's hunched shoulders, hands jammed into his pockets like he could shove his problems deeper that way. Nora, arms folded, her high ponytail drooping in the drizzle. For a second, Liana thought it had to be a glitch. Some old footage playing back by mistake. Then her mother leaned into the intercom, pressing the button with stiff fingers. Liana. Her mother's voice crackled through the app speaker at Liana's end. Too loud in the quiet office. Liana, open the gate. Liana's heart slammed against her ribs. They hadn't called. They hadn't texted. They had driven an hour to show up at her gate, in the dark, without warning. She didn't move. She watched. Her father shifted from foot to foot, glancing back at the car parked crookily against the curb. Even in grayscale, she could make out the packed trunk, silhouettes of overstuffed bags pressed against the rear window. Nora rubbed her arms, looked miserable, and then, because she was Nora, pulled out her phone and started scrolling even as her mother mashed the intercom button again. "Liana, we know you're there. We can see the lights." On the camera feed, Liana watched her own house glowing softly behind them, a warm square of light from the office window upstairs. Her window. If any of them looked up, they would see her shadow. They didn't look up. They never did. Liana's thumb hovered over the button to speak. She lowered her hand. Instead, she tapped the volume icon and listened. Her mother dropped the intercom button and turned sharply toward her father and Nora, unaware that the camera and therefore, Liana could still hear every word. "I told you she'd be difficult," her mother snapped. "This is what happens when you spoil a girl with education. She forgets who fed her when she was small." "We don't have time for this," Nora muttered. "If we don't find somewhere tonight, the motel is going to kick us out tomorrow. They already said no more extensions." Her father's voice was low, tight. "She open," he said. "Once she hears we lost the house, she won't be able to say no. She's not heartless." Liana's ears rang. Lost the house. She gripped the edge of her desk until her fingers hurt. On the camera, her mother slapped the intercom again, voice rising. "Liana, open this gate right now. We are your family. We need to talk. Something bad has happened." There it was. Not asterisk, "We miss you," asterisk. Not asterisk, "We're sorry," asterisk. Asterisk, "We need." Asterisk, something inside Liana went very, very still. She thought of the binder, the late-night transfers, the way her mother had said asterisk, "We'll remember this when you need something," asterisk. As if generosity were a currency she'd run out of the right to use. They were at her gate now because they had run out of options. Not because she was their daughter, because she was their last plan. Her phone buzzed again, a second security alert as Nora leaned over to pound the metal bars with her fist. "Liana," Nora shouted. "Come on, this is childish. You can't ignore us." Liana's hand moved almost of its own accord. She tapped the microphone icon. The connection clicked with a soft sound. "Stop hitting my gate," she said, voice calm and clear through the intercom. All three of them jerked as if they'd been shocked. "Liana," her mother cried, immediately rearranging her face into something wounded and hopeful, even in monochrome. "Thank God. Open, open, let us in. It's raining." Liana could hear the faint patter of it now through the speaker, like fingers drumming on metal. "I see that," she said. She didn't move from her chair. Her mother blinked at the camera, leaning closer as if she could force herself into the lens. "Open the gate," she repeated. "We need to talk inside. This is not a conversation for the street." Liana could picture the script unspooling in her mother's mind. Get inside. Make a scene. Wear her down. They'd done it before, in her tiny apartment with its thin walls and cheaper locks. This, however, was not that apartment. "No," Liana said, the single word landing in the cold air like a stone. On the camera, Nora's mouth fell open. Her father took a step forward, squinting up at the small black dome of the camera. "Liana," he said, attempting a weary, reasonable tone she recognized from every family argument. "Be fair. We drove all this way. We're tired. Just let us in, and we'll explain everything." "I can hear you fine from here," Liana replied. "Explain." Her mother bristled. "This is not how we raised you," she hissed. "Talking to your parents through a machine like strangers." Liana watched her own reflection in the dark screen of her laptop, a woman sitting in a warm office, back straight, face composed. "I didn't install this machine when I was 8. she said evenly. I installed it last month, when I realized I needed boundaries. She didn't have to raise her voice. Every syllable carried. Nora rolled her eyes dramatically. Oh my God, here we go, she muttered. Can we skip the TED Talk and get to the part where you stop being selfish? Liana's chest tightened and then unexpectedly loosened. Selfish. There it was again. The word that had always meant, you're not giving us everything we want. She almost smiled. No, she said softly. We can't skip it. Because I've skipped it for 32 years. Her father's jaw clenched. Liana, he said warningly. She lifted her chin. You said you lost the house, she continued. How? Her parents glanced at each other. Her mother launched into a familiar story: health issues, layoffs, the cruel unfairness of banks. Liana listened. 2 minutes in, the story slipped. Credit cards. A new car they deserved. A loan her father had consigned for a cousin who'd disappeared. The casino, once or twice, just to see. Liana's fingers loosened on the edge of the desk. So, she summarized quietly when her mother ran out of words. You lost the house because you kept spending money you didn't have, even after I helped with the mortgage 3 times. Her mother's face hardened. You think you're so perfect, she spat. Always with your budgets and your lists. You don't understand what it is to live. I understand what it is to choose, Liana replied. I chose to buy a house I could afford. I chose to work nights instead of going out. I chose to help you over and over. She leaned slightly closer to her own microphone, letting the weight of the next words build in her chest before she released them. And when I moved here, she said, not one of you reached out. Silence. Her mother blinked. What are you talking about? My move, Liana said. The keys, the photo in the group chat, the texts, the calls I made that went unanswered. Not a single congratulations. Not a single, how are you settling in? You only show up now at my gate because you need something. That's not fair, Nora cut in, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. We were busy. Life doesn't revolve around your housewarming. Liana's laugh surprised even herself. Busy, she repeated. Mateo's memes made it into the chat. Your brunch pictures did. Mum's complaints about the neighbor's dog did. But the one thing in my life that wasn't about solving your emergencies somehow slipped everyone else's mind. Her father exhaled, a white puff of breath visible even in the grainy camera image. We're here now, he said. Isn't that what matters? The old Liana would have grabbed onto that sentence like a lifeline. She would have opened the gate. She would have said, asterisk, yes, that's what matters. Asterisk, and dragged suitcases up the stairs while they complained about the stairs. The woman sitting in the office of the house she had bought felt something else instead. Clarity. No, she said. What matters is the pattern. And patterns don't disappear because you're suddenly in trouble. Her mother's eyes flashed. So what then? She demanded. You leave us on the street? You let your own parents sleep in a car? Liana closed her eyes for a moment. Behind her eyelids, scenes flickered, their living room growing up, filled with relatives she'd never met whose flights she'd paid for. Nora's new phone, bought with borrowed money that never found its way back. The look on her mother's face when Liana had dared to mention the word no for the first time. This was the part that would define the rest of her life. Not the move. Not the house. This decision. When she opened her eyes, her reflection in the laptop screen looked steady. I'm not leaving anyone on the street, she said. I'm also not repeating the past. Her mother made a frustrated sound. What does that mean? It means, Liana said, I will pay for a motel for 1 week. 1 room. I will transfer money directly to the motel, not to you. During that week, You can contact a financial counselor, talk to the bank, and figure out a plan that doesn't involve me emptying my accounts again. I will not let you move into my house. I will not bail out your debts. I will not be your solution this time." Her mother recoiled as if struck. "That's nothing," she cried. "A week? After everything we did for you?" Liana's throat tightened. Asterisk. After everything I did for you, asterisk, she thought. She didn't say it. She didn't have to. "That is my offer," she said quietly. "It's more than you gave me when I was starting out. If you don't want it, you are free to say no." Nora swore under her breath. "You can't be serious. You were going to sit in your little castle and watch your own family beg on camera?" Liana let the words ring in her ears. Selfish. Castle. Beg. She thought of Evelyn's term sheet waiting in her inbox, of the equity offer, of the life she was building that had nothing to do with whether anyone approved. "Yes," she said finally. "I am going to sit in the house I worked for and make decisions based on what is healthy for me, not based on fear or guilt." Her father stepped closer, shoulders heaving. "You'll regret this," he said softly, a threat wrapped in a prophecy. "Blood is blood, Liana. Friends leave. Jobs change. Family is all you have in the end." Liana felt the words snag against the binder on her shelf. Asterisk. What really happened? Asterisk. She pictured herself opening it in 10 years, reading tonight's entry. 9. They came to my gate when they lost the house. Offered guilt, not apology. Maybe she would regret it. Maybe she wouldn't. But for the first time, the possibility of regret didn't feel heavier than the certainty of repeating the same cycle. "If family is all I have," she said slowly, "then why did no one reach out when I started my new life?" No one answered. The rain picked up, streaking the camera lens. Her mother huffed. "You know what?" she said, throwing up her hands. "Keep your money. Keep your house. When you're old and alone, don't come crying to us." She turned, marching toward the car. Nora followed, muttering curses. Her father lingered a second longer, looking up at the small black eye of the camera. "Last chance," he said. "Open the gate, Liana." Liana's finger hovered over the button, not the gate control, the recording icon. She tapped it. The app confirmed asterisk recording in progress. Asterisk. "No," she said. "My last chance was years ago, when I still believed this was love." Her father flinched. Then he turned and walked away. She watched them load into the car, watched the brake lights flare red as they pulled away from her gate. She stayed there long after the security feed went still again, the house once more surrounded by quiet. Her tea had gone cold on the desk. Her hands were shaking. In the reflected glass of the office window, she could see herself small in the sprawling house, but standing. For a wild, disorienting second, grief crashed over her. They were her parents. Her sister. The people who had bandaged scraped knees, attended school plays, shouted from the sidelines, even if they tallied up the cost later. She pressed her palms flat on the desk and let the tears come, silent and hot. Not because she thought she'd done the wrong thing, because doing the right thing still hurt. When the worst of it passed, she wiped her face, took a long, unsteady breath, and reached for her notebook. Her hand trembled only slightly as she wrote. 9. They came to the gate when they needed saving. I said no to being their house. 10. I offered a week of shelter elsewhere. They refused. 11. They said I'd regret choosing myself. She closed the notebook gently. Her phone buzzed again, a new email. Evelyn had sent over the term sheet, subject line glowing bright in her inbox. Liana opened it. She scanned the numbers, the percentages, the legal language. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever was. But it was real. It was an invitation into a future that didn't require her to shrink. Her cursor hovered over the reply button. She thought of her father's final words. Asterisk family is all you have in the end. Asterisk. Her thumb brushed the edge of the binder on the shelf. Asterisk. Not if you build something of your own. Asterisk. Another voice, quieter but steadier, whispered back. She clicked reply. Asterisk Evelyn. Asterisk, she typed, fingers moving faster now. Asterisk, thank you for the offer. I've reviewed the terms and I'm in. Let's talk next steps. Asterisk, she hit send. It was such a small motion. The soft whoosh of the outgoing email barely audible over the wind. And yet, something inside her shifted. For the first time, the ache behind her sternum eased, replaced by a cautious warmth. She turned off the monitors one by one, the prototype, the email, the security app feed, now showing only the quiet street. The house seemed to exhale with her. She picked up her phone one last time, opened the security app, and tapped the archive. Tonight's recording sat at the top of the list. She saved a copy. Not to throw in anyone's face. Not tonight, maybe not ever. But as part of the record. Asterisk, what really happened? Asterisk updated. When she finally went to bed, the room felt different. Not because the furniture had moved. Because she had. She lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the storm, and realized something quietly extraordinary. She was alone, and she was not abandoned. Those were not the same thing. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, it was deeper than it had been in years. In the morning, the storm had passed. The trees outside dripped in the pale light. Her phone, face down on the nightstand, vibrated once. She reached for it. A new message blinked on the screen. From an unknown number. Asterisk, hi, Ms. Reyes. This is Carla from the Lakeside Motel. Your parents checked out early this morning. They said to tell you they didn't need your charity. Asterisk. Liana stared at the words, a small, sad smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Of course they had. She typed back. Asterisk. Thank you for letting me know, Carla. I appreciate it. Asterisk. She set the phone down, walked to her bedroom window, and pulled the curtains fully open. The neighborhood was waking up, dog walkers, kids with backpacks, a jogger adjusting her headphones. Life continuing. Her life beginning. She pressed her hand lightly against the glass, feeling the faint warmth of the sunlight beneath her palm. For the first time in a very long time, she whispered the truth out loud, to an empty room that didn't feel quite so empty anymore. I'm allowed to choose myself. The words didn't echo. They settled, like furniture finally set in the right place. 2 more great stories are next. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications.